Welcome to the channel. Today's story is full of surprises and real drama. Subscribe and like to stay updated. Let's dive in.
The trip wasn't off to a good start. I had a work convention in Denver on Wednesday and Thursday. Back in the day, Emily, my wife, used to take time off to send me off with lots of sweet memories for the days I'd be away. But this time, she just gave me a quick kiss on her way out the door to work. My name's Nathan Parker. I'm 45 and have been married to Emily for 20 years. We have two kids, Ethan, 21, and Olivia, 19. Around 2 p.m., I left work and drove to the airport. My flight was at 5 p.m. Since I hated to be late or worry about missing my plane, I always got to the airport early. This time, everything went just fine, and I spent an hour waiting for the boarding call. Because of the poor weather, the plane coming from Colorado was delayed. A snowstorm was heading our way. After a delay of 30 minutes, we finally boarded. 20 minutes into our flight, I sensed the plane bank left. At first, I thought it was correcting its heading, but I soon realized it was turning around. Sure enough, the pilot informed us that the snowstorm was making a landing impossible at Denver Airport, and we were heading back home. Back at the airport, I rushed to the airline counter to reschedule for a flight the next morning. I was lucky enough to grab one of the last available seats. I would be late for the convention, but I would get there. As soon as I had a seat confirmed, I got on the phone to inform my contact in Denver that I was delayed arriving and would be there tomorrow. I also left a notice on my boss's voicemail. I then called home, but Emily did not pick up. Although it was a bit after 7 p.m., the house was dark, and Emily's car wasn't in the driveway. I guessed she decided to work late or go to a restaurant. Now that our youngest child was away at college, the house felt empty. I left my luggage in the car and went in. I heard voices coming from the living room, strange. I headed that way and realized that the TV had been left on. That meant Emily came back home after work because I'm sure the TV was off when I left for work. I turned it off and looked around the house for her. No sign of her. I called her cell. She picked up after a few rings. "Hi, honey," said Emily when she recognized my number. "Hi, sweetheart, where are you?" she asked. It was such an innocent question, the kind of question I'd asked so many times in our marriage. I didn't ask it to pry or be nosy. I simply asked to know where she was. "Where else, silly?" "At home, watching my soaps," she answered, figuratively throwing a bucket of cold water on me. "And you, how was your flight? Are you at the hotel yet?" My brain froze. I was tired from the travel delay, and all I wanted was to have my wife back, to rest and cuddle with her for a few more hours. They were such simple expectations. Despite the delayed flight, I had felt lucky. I would be able to spend some unexpected bonus hours in my bed with my wife. Until 30 seconds ago, I was happy to be stuck home, but instead of coming back to my loving wife of 20 years, I was coming back to lies and deception. I wasn't expecting that at all. I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know what to say. Did she really just lie to me? Why would she do that? There was no reason for her to lie to me if she was at work, with some friends, or eating out. My silence must have been long because Emily asked, "Honey, are you still there?" "Yeah, sorry. We landed at O'Hare and I gotta go," I said, hanging up on her. My phone started to ring almost right away. I didn't answer and turned it off. I needed time to think. Sitting all by myself on the couch, I felt numb. I was trying to figure out why Emily would lie to me. Maybe she's planning a surprise for me. I remembered 5 years ago a series of lies I had to tell her. I was planning a cruise for our 15th wedding anniversary. I involved her boss and her parents for a month, repeatedly lying, trying to weave my way around the truth. All the lies came to fruition the day we took off for a weekend in Orlando and ended up at the dock, where I presented her with a pair of cruise tickets. But as hard as I tried, I couldn't find a special anniversary in the months ahead. At best, my birthday and our 21st wedding anniversary would be in 8 months. There was one thought that kept returning but that I relentlessly rejected. I refused to think about it, not us. Others, yes, they might face that, but not us. That's it. I knew one person who would know of any surprise planned by Emily, my daughter, Olivia. Turning my phone back on, I soon speed dialed her number. "Hey, Daddy, how are you?" my sweetheart said. "Hi, baby, what's up?" she asked. "Nothing much, Daddy. I just finished my homework and I'm now watching TV," she said. "And you? Have you spoken with Mom lately?" she asked. "No, nothing special aside from our weekly phone call on Sunday," answered Olivia. "Sorry to ask, but do you happen to know something about a surprise she would be planning for me?" "Don't tell me what, just tell me if your mom is planning something," I asked, full of hope. "No, Daddy, nothing at all." "Why do you ask?" "Well, she's been acting strange lately and I was wondering if she was hiding a nice surprise for me." "Maybe for my birthday," I told her. "No, not yet, Daddy. Didn't we just celebrate your birthday last month?" "Yeah, well, forget I asked. Good night, baby." "Night, Daddy." Well, that wasn't it. Why would she lie to me? Maybe it was coming promotion. Yeah, that's it. I don't know why she would lie about it, but it could be that she was still trying hard to get a promotion. Working for that promotion had kept her staying late so many times lately. She knew that no promotion was worth our lost time together. She knew that I was adamant she cut back her hours at work so we could be more together. She also knew that I was entitled to ask, as I had myself refused a promotion a few months before our 15th anniversary to be able to spend more time with her and the kids. Just a few years ago, I had vied for and got an offer to become vice president of finance at my company. The only problem was the constant traveling to the head office in Seattle, where the board meetings were held, as well as regular tours of all our plants all over the country. I was ecstatic when I was offered the job, but Emily soon had me thinking twice about accepting it. First, my predecessor ended up divorced within a year of his promotion. He ended up rich but lonely and miserable. My two kids still had a few years left in high school, and they still needed both parents' guidance and support. Emily didn't relish becoming the only one involved. We talked about it for a full week before I realized I was about to lose sight of the most important thing in my life, my wife and my kids. I turned down the promotion. That's why I didn't take it too well the last few months when Emily started working really hard toward her own promotion. For Emily, it wasn't the same. The kids were in college, and there were only the two of us. Her promotion would mean a bit more traveling, but nothing that would affect our life much. We could probably schedule our own traveling in the same time period to minimize our time apart. The problem was the many hours spent working overtime toward that promotion. Just seeing your wife 1 or 2 hours each day for a whole week wasn't very satisfying to me, and that's without talking about the nosedive in our love life. She even spent many Saturdays and some Sundays at work. When she was home, she was simply totally exhausted. I'm not even sure when was the last time we made love, 3 weeks ago. Last month. We are not young anymore, but it was pathetic. So, I wouldn't be surprised if she were working when I phoned and lied to avoid my complaint. Of course, that is unfair, as I was traveling too and understood that some overtime would hurt nobody. Well, there was an easy way to find out. I grabbed my phone and dialed her direct line. Summit Advertising, Mark Davies speaking, answered my wife's colleague. I was a bit taken by surprise. They don't work in the same room, and I sure wasn't expecting anybody but Emily to pick up. But Greg was a good guy, and he would tell me if Emily was around. Hi, Greg, Alex here. Hi, Alex, answered Greg. He was never able to use my nickname. Why would you phone me here when you and your wife are spending some vacation time together? Decidedly, I was going from surprise to surprise tonight. Vacation? What vacation? Hey, sorry to bother you at work, Greg. I just pressed the wrong speed dial button on my phone, I lied. No problem, Alex. Just tell Emily that she owes me lunch when she comes back next Monday for covering again for her. See, I'm at work, and it is way past 8 p.m. She owes me big time, he said. Then he hung up. Not only was Emily not working, she wasn't at work at all. From what Greg told me, she was off work for the rest of the week. Now, that was starting to scare the hell out of me. Where was Emily, and what was she doing? A thought crossed my mind, asked for, and unwelcome. Oh no, it can't be. I always refuse to think the worst of people. I prefer to be a positive guy, to look at the bright side of things, to see what is best in each of us. But here I was, thinking the worst. Could it be? Could she do that to me? Could she be with her sister, Rachel? We were estranged from Rachel and Rachel's ex-husband, Michael. Once upon a time, we were really close. We shared evenings together, babysat each other's kids, co-hosted many family gatherings, and we even went on vacation together. It all came to an end one day when I came home with a terrible headache. I took a couple of Tylenol and lay down on the couch. Half an hour later, Emily and Rachel came back from shopping. They were chatting up a storm and never noticed me. "Have you noticed the new produce manager at the grocery store?" asked Rachel. "Sure, heck, cute if I may say so," said my wife, "and he was all smiles with you." "He'd better be all smiles with the romp we had together yesterday in the back of my van," said Rachel. "Oh, Rachel, not again," said my wife. "One day you will get caught and lose a good husband and maybe more." "Don't worry, big sister. I'm always careful," answered Rachel. "We gotta go, it's time to pick up the kids," and they were gone, leaving me wondering what to do. I have always been a straight shooter, but in this case, I wasn't sure about the right course of action. I really liked Michael, and I knew that the news of Rachel's cheating would be devastating. I also knew that he would kick her out of the house in a heartbeat. Do I really want to play the bad guy and destroy their marriage? I wasn't able to reach a decision before my wife came back home with the children. I was glad that she disapproved of her sister's cheating, and in a very shrewd way, I decided to leave the decision to her. When we were getting ready for bed that night, I asked her about my dilemma. "Honey, I have a hard choice to make, and I really need your advice," I started. "Let's say that I overheard a conversation today, and I learned that somebody close to us was cheating, having sex outside the marriage. What should I do? Should I tell on them? Should I get mad at the cheater?" Emily looked at me, unsure at first about what to say. "Well, it might depend on the circumstances. Is it a one-time mistake, or is it an error while drunk?" "There are so many possibilities," said Emily. "Let's say for argument's sake that it's Michael, and that he picked up a woman in a bar," I said. "And I know it's not the first time, either. Should we let it slide and not say anything? Should I talk to him to help him change his ways?" Emily suddenly sat straight in bed and grabbed her phone. "That a-hole, the two-faced maggot. I'll show you what to do, and I will do it right away. I'll tell Rachel right away that he's cheating on her." I grabbed the phone from her hand. "Let me do it, honey. It's my responsibility," I said. "Are you sure it's the right thing to do?" "You bet I'm sure. I hope she kicks the maggot out of the house." Emily then turned toward me. "And we won't let him stay with us. He can find another place. I don't want a cheater in my house." Lucky for me, Michael answered the phone. "Hey, it's your favorite brother-in-law here. Sorry to phone this late, but I have something really bad to tell you," I started. "Favorite brother-in-law? You're my only brother-in-law," said Michael. "What is so important that you phoned this late?" "I overheard a conversation today, and I have very bad news. World-shattering kind of news. Your better half is not all yours, if I may say so. Your spouse is cheating on you. It happened yesterday, and it wasn't the first time either." Michael was silent for a long time on the phone. "I can't believe it," he finally said, his voice barely loud enough. "Are you sure you were speaking about my Rachel?" "Yes. I heard the confession from the horse's mouth itself. Bragging is a better description than confessing, if you get my drift. And I didn't hear any sign of remorse. It was like describing a game of hide and seek. I am really sorry to be the bearer of such bad news. I'll let you deal with it in your own way, but don't hesitate to call. We'll be there for you and the kids. Thanks." And Michael hung up. Emily had tears at the corner of her eyes. She sadly smiled at me. "I am so proud of you, honey. It takes courage to be the messenger of such bad news," said Emily. "Can you please hold me? I feel so lost and scared." I took her in my arms and started to rock her gently. "I wonder if they will go to therapy," I asked after a little while. "I believe it wouldn't do any good," said Emily sleepily. "Once a cheater, always a cheater." "You're right. Night. I was drifting towards sleep when the ringing of the phone woke me up. Yeah, hello, I said, yawning and speaking softly, trying to avoid waking up Emily. What the hell? What did you tell Michael? Asked the very angry voice of Rachel. Just the truth. I told only the truth, I said, glancing at Emily, who was waking up. I talked about it with Emily this evening, and we decided it was better to tell the truth, however upsetting it might be. I can't believe my sister would rat me out, answered Rachel, her voice full of venom. Sure, she would. She was about to do it herself, but I took the phone from her and I decided to tell your spouse myself, I said. We agreed that cheaters should pay the price, whatever that price is. Rachel started to cry. But what can I do? Michael kicked me out of the house, Rachel said between sobs. Well, if you've been kicked out of the house, it is well deserved, I said. But what can I do? Where will I go? Can I come to your place? Asked Rachel. No way. Emily and I talked about it too, and there's no chance that we would offer shelter to a cheater. You're on your own. I can't believe my sister would say that. She loves me, said Rachel. Emily, what do we say to a cheater that asks to come over here after being kicked out? I asked, turning the phone toward her and placing a finger on the speaker. She had a mischievous smile on her face. Her mouth came closer to the phone. I don't want a cheater in my house. Get lost, Emily said with real pride. I quickly put the phone back to my ear. I'll talk for the both of us and say it only once you're out of our lives. Stay away from us. Don't come and don't phone. If you want a place to stay, go to your parents and try to explain to them why you've been kicked out of your house, I said, and then hung up the phone. Emily began to hold me tighter. I'm real proud of you, honey, Emily said. We drifted to sleep. The next morning, as the old saying goes, the crap hit the fan. Luckily, the kids were still sleeping. Emily's dad phoned early and Emily answered. I could hear him yelling at his daughter. Emily lost her initial smile and started crying when she hung up the phone. What did you do? Asked Emily. What did we do, honey? I asked for advice and telling about the cheating was your idea, too. Cutting all ties with a cheater was also your idea, and I completely agreed, I said. But you said that Michael was cheating on Rachel. Emily exclaimed. For argument's sake, I said, let's say that Michael picked up a woman in a bar and had sex with her. I didn't say that he was cheating on her. Anyway, what's the difference between Michael cheating on Rachel or Rachel cheating on Michael? She asked. Well, Rachel is my sister, answered Emily. So you're saying it's all right for her to cheat on her husband because she's your sister? Is it a family thing? Do I have reason to be worried? I said, my exasperation clearly audible in my speech. Emily was speechless. Honey, I'll say it once and you better believe me, that sister of yours is a bad role model for our kids. I don't want her around and I don't want you to have anything to do with her. She is not welcome in this house or around our kids, I said. That was 3 years ago. I know that Emily was still seeing her sister once in a while, but it was a forbidden subject in the house. It was no surprise to me that she would go visit her sister while I was gone and that she would hide it from me. Rachel was still somebody not very likable, but since Michael bounced back from the drama and was soon to be remarried, a lot of my resentment was gone. I was glad not to have Rachel around. Emily, we should talk about it. It's not a pleasant subject, but it would be easier on us to clear the air. I was pretty sure she felt bad lying to me about that when I didn't care anymore. I was facing a crowd of at least 1,000 attendees at the convention. They were all looking at me, an anonymous crowd without faces. I took a deep breath and started my expose. Studies reveal that there are two kinds of people in the world of tissues. There is the first group, the denialists, the people that blow their noses, don't look down, and dispose of the tissue right away. And there are the people that face reality, they blow their noses and look inside the tissue. Somebody in the crowd was waving their arm to attract my attention. It was John Mitchell, Emily's boss. Yes? She asked. Well, he said with a smirk, face this reality, I had sex with your wife. Just behind him, an all-smiling Mark Davies stood up. Me too, I screwed your wife. A third guy, someone I didn't recognize, also stood up. Me 3. He started to laugh loudly. No, not really, I just always wanted to say that. And the whole crowd started to laugh really loud, 1,000 unfriendly faces smirking at me. I sat up straight on the couch. Damn. I had fallen asleep on the couch. I wiped the drool off my face and got up. I looked at my watch, it was midnight. I must have dozed off for over an hour. Maybe Emily came back home while I was sleeping and didn't see me, as I wasn't supposed to be here. I went to the bedroom, but there was no sign of her, and then I remembered that she was probably with her sister. I wanted to phone Rachel and asked for Emily, but I realized that although I knew where she lived, I'd picked up her kids there a few times, I had no idea what her phone number was. Or do I? I gripped my smartphone, and just as I was about to go to my contact list, I saw the app icon for Find Phone. I had installed that app on both our smartphones last year when I lost mine somewhere between New York City and Cincinnati. In a matter of seconds, I had the location of Emily's phone, Blueberry Lake. What the hell was she doing at Blueberry Lake? Rachel was dead broke and certainly had no money to buy or even rent a cottage at Blueberry Lake. It was a very exclusive community, most cottages worth many times the cost of our house. I used Google Earth to pinpoint where she was exactly. Her location wasn't in the village proper but seemed to be on a very secluded estate surrounded by a large stone wall. What was Emily doing at a millionaire's place? Blueberry Lake was about an hour's drive from town. I had to know what she was doing there. I was not ready for a confrontation, if ever, and I had to find out what she was up to. If I were to simply ask her, she would probably lie, as she already did. Within minutes, I was in my car. All the time I was driving there, I kept kicking myself for refusing to believe the worst about Emily. I should have checked the GPS locator on her phone right away, instead of finding excuses for her lies. When I arrived at Blueberry Lake, I still didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what to expect. I kept hoping for a simple explanation. I drove toward the estate where Emily was. Damn, there was a huge gate blocking the entrance, and I sure didn't intend to drive up there and buzz the house, asking for my wife. I looked around, and a parked car along the road would be an eyesore for the locals and would certainly attract a police car or whatever security guards were working for this select community. I drove a bit before I found a wooden trail where I could park the car. I didn't even know how I would climb that wall. That's when I realized that the estate was fronting the lake and that there might be a way to access the property from that side. I soon found a pedestrian access to the lake. At the shore, I wasn't even sure at which huge cottage Emily was. I had to keep checking back on the GPS locator. I finally arrived at a big mansion. There were still some lights on at the mansion, but they were coming from the second floor. The first floor was dark. One drape was open and light was pouring out of that window. I found a tree and climbed high enough to have a look inside the house. I first saw a man wearing a white terry cloth housecoat. I didn't recognize him at all. He was older than me, maybe 60. He moved away, and a few minutes later, a woman appeared. I instantly understood why Emily was there. It was Rachel. Her own housecoat was open, and she looked outside while sipping champagne from a flute. She was naked underneath the housecoat. Well, she was still a very good-looking woman at 42, she still had a flat tummy. So, I was right. Emily was with her sister. I wasn't surprised to learn that Rachel was after a sugar daddy, knowing that the divorce had been hard on her financially, but I didn't really like to learn that Emily was dragged into that kind of life. You never know what can happen with these people. The man I first saw came behind Rachel, gently grabbing her. He took the glass of champagne from her and set it aside, out of sight on his left. I should have climbed down from the tree to avoid seeing my sister-in-law without her clothes, but I didn't. The old man still had his housecoat on. The man started acting like an animal. I'm really old-fashioned, love and sex are simply two sides of the coin of a union between a woman and a man for me. What I had just witnessed was totally devoid of love. I didn't like Rachel, but I would never wish something as degrading as that for her. A bit embarrassed by the sideshow, I was about to climb down when the couple moved away from the window. That's when I caught a glimpse of Emily. She was sitting on a couch further back in the room, a silly drunken grin on her face. My heart froze. Her housecoat was not only open, it was open all the way down to her hips, held in place only by the belt. A second man approached her and opened his own housecoat. Emily sealed the fate of our marriage when she put her drink down and kissed the man. I was so shocked that I took a step backward and fell from the tree. Branches broke my fall, and I wasn't hurt too much when I landed. Luckily, no one heard my fall, or if they did, no one was bothered. I fell like a zombie, tears streaking down my face as I limped my way back to my car. I was hurt, really, really deeply hurt, not from my fall from the tree, but from my fall from grace, from the loss of my love. For a few seconds, I thought about rushing to the cottage, breaking down the door, and causing as much mayhem as I could. But the idea of spending the next 3 to 5 years in jail for breaking and entering, or for assault, was not very appealing, to say the least. A mix of emotions was fighting in my head as I walked alone through the night. There were no more denials in me. There was just a sense of loss, an immense sadness, and a rising anger that I didn't dare risk letting loose, lest it overwhelm me and screw my life up even more than it already was. I knew that, even if my anger turned to rage, I would never do something that would physically hurt Emily, but I almost did. I could have simply driven home, packed my stuff, and left her. Living in a no-fault state, with our own wages and no more underage kids at home, the divorce would be straightforward, split everything 50-50ths and bye-bye. But I needed a little payback. I played with the idea for a few minutes and decided to go for it, to see how it would play out. I took my phone and dialed Emily's number. As expected, she didn't pick up, and I got her voicemail. I was hoping that she would check her voicemail immediately after I left it, just in case. "Hey, honey," I said, trying to sound cheerful. "You didn't pick up the house phone, so I'm trying your cell. I just wanted to tell you not to panic when you hear my keys in the door in a few minutes." It was a crazy evening with a snowstorm diverting our plane toward Chicago and then finally being sent back here. They are not sure exactly when we'll be landing, but I should be home 30 minutes after that. See you shortly. Now, she must have heard the ping sound notifying her of a voicemail. As it was the middle of the night, she must have been curious and distraught enough to check it immediately. That was really out of character for me. Now, she's reaching for her phone, listening to the voicemail. Please let her be drunk enough not to realize that I couldn't have used my cell phone from the plane. Now, she's in panic mode. She's about to get caught. She's not sure, but she thinks that she might just have time to jump in the car and beat me back home. All the while, she's dressing up real quick, probably answering questions from her sister and the man she was just with. My phone startled me when it began to ring. I hadn't really thought it through, but it made sense that she would try to figure out exactly when I'd be home. "Hi, honey. Sorry if I woke you up," I said. "It's all right." "Are you on your way home?" asked Emily, her voice sounding anxious. "I should be there in about an hour, give or take a few minutes," I answered, knowing that it would be touch and go for her to beat me back home, but doable. "Will she take the bait?" "Okay. See you then," she said, and hung up. Within a few minutes, I saw her car coming from the estate's gate, driving rather fast toward the interstate. Damn, she almost ended up in the ditch. She must be drunker than I thought. It's one thing to play with Emily, but it's another to sit here while she might be involved in an accident and kill some innocent strangers. I was mad at her, but not at the risk of the life of the mother of my children. Think fast, think fast. 911, what's your emergency? I'd like to report a drunk driver. The car almost ran into me, then sped away, swerving like crazy. It just got on the interstate at Blueberry Lake, heading south. It's a dark blue Toyota Camry, and I got the last 4 digits of the license plate. It's 4421. Somebody better stop that car before the driver kills someone. I was thanked for my assistance and reassured that a patrol car would be dispatched to check on the drunk driver. I kept my distance and followed Emily. 2 exits later, I saw a highway patrol car perched up on a bridge over the freeway. As soon as Emily's car came into view, it took off and headed onto the interstate. Sure enough, they pulled Emily over. I passed them, watching in my rearview mirror as they dealt with her. 45 minutes later, I was back home. It was almost funny, if it wasn't so sad, that in a matter of one night, the life of one of the people I loved so much would become of no consequence. I really had to take a few seconds to weigh the possibility that Emily might die in a car crash and the sadness and misery my children would suffer. Nowhere was my love for her a factor in the decision I made. Not that I didn't love her anymore, but I couldn't see our lives going forward together. I turned off the house phone's ringer and switched off my cell phone. I needed to think. I couldn't believe I had spent the last few hours trying to find an explanation for Emily's lie when the obvious one kept jumping in my face. I opened a bottle of wine and tried to figure out what I would do. For years, I believed that my love for Emily would be like a good bottle of wine, that it would reach its peak with age. But as it is, it seems that it turned to vinegar. I loved that woman so much that the pain of her betrayal was killing me. No, it's not only the betrayal that was killing me. It was also the discovery of the loss of our love that was killing me. Without that love, I was nobody. I was nothing. It had defined me for the last 22 years, 20 as husband and wife. Can I survive that? Wouldn't it be less painful to just go to the next bridge and simply jump off it? I never thought that I would have to plan a life without Emily. I didn't know how to start. I never made decisions without first discussing them with Emily. Now, I couldn't even contemplate the idea of speaking to her. It's simple, my family has been my whole life. Every single decision has been made thinking about my wife and kids. Even our social life was focused on the needs of our family. I didn't congregate much with my fellow workers. I attended social functions like the annual Christmas party, but I was always heading home right after work. I could count on one hand the times I'd gone out with people from work over the last 10 years. With the kids now out of the house, it was only Emily and me. Now, it was only me. I was left alone with my grief. I was left alone with nobody to love. Alone for the first time in my life. Why did she do this to me? Why the deception when a simple divorce would have still been painful but more respectful of all the years and happy moments we shared? When did she stop loving me? Was she only staying with me until the kids grew up and left? When did she stop caring? I saw the departure of our kids as an opportunity to focus more on Emily and on us. It seems she saw it as the end of the road for us. My thinking wasn't very clear, but I now realized she probably didn't know how to break it up. Somewhere, I think she still cared about me, unless it was just cowardice. I kept seeing that stranger having sex with her. The way she kissed him without hesitation and started to undress showed me how comfortable they were with each other, or how easily she cheated on me. Emily and her lover, me alone, without love, brought only one thought: we were dead as a couple. Amidst my despair, the pain was a link to life. Pain reminded me of my loss, of better moments, of my kids. I had to think about them. My kids saved me that evening. I didn't have enough self-esteem left to extract myself from the deep well of my despair, but my kids did it. The thought of them helped me cling to a little bit of self-preservation. Ethan and Olivia would soon get married and start their own families. I realized that I wanted to be the grandpa who spoils their many kids. I just wouldn't do it with Emily. I had to get away from all of this before the grief killed me. It wouldn't be very hard, just painful. I knew that I would always remember Emily the way I loved her. I also knew that I would always remember her having sex with another man. I had to get out of Dodge. I had always been a man of modest expectations. My parents weren't rich, but I grew up in a very loving family. I could do without all the flashy stuff I now owned. Thinking about everything we owned, my clothes, my car, my laptop, those were the only things I would take with me. The more I thought about it, the more obvious the resolution of my problem became. I'd pack my stuff and disappear. I didn't want to set my eyes on the woman I once loved more than life itself. The sight of her would just remind me of what I'd lost and of my constant pain. I got up, grabbed a few bags, and started to pack my clothes. It took me only 30 minutes. I had all the bags in my car in no time. It was close to 5:30 a.m. when I finished packing. I then took a nap, confident that Emily would remain in the drunk tank until mid-morning. I slept like a rock, and my phone alarm woke me up at 8:30 a.m. After making an emergency appointment with my lawyer, I took a shower, removed my wedding ring, and left it on the table beside my phone. I decided to take a few minutes to write a Dear Jane a letter. We had nothing to talk about, but I needed to vent my disappointment. Emily. I should have known that you would turn out like your sister, an oversexed, lonely divorced woman. Genetic, I guess. By the time you read this, I will be gone from your life, never to see you again. I loved you so much that your betrayal hurt like crazy. I never thought I could hurt that much. Thank you for the 20 years of happy life together, and I'm thankful for the 2 kids you gave me. I will be fair and quick so you can go back to your lover. I just wish you had been as fair and divorced me before you started cheating on me. Did you get paid? The guy seemed loaded if I can judge by the mansion you were in. I don't wish to see or talk to you. We have nothing to talk about. My lawyer will contact yours, just sign the divorce papers. Alex. P.S. Screw you. At 9:30 a.m., I was at the bank. I paid off our joint credit cards and cancelled them. I had the bank make a cashier's check for all our savings and CDS and transferred just enough money into the checking account to cover the mortgage and utility bills for the next 2 months. I then removed my name from the joint account. I left the bank with a check worth close to $150,000. By noon, I was at my workplace. My boss was surprised to see me, as I was supposed to be in Denver. He was even more surprised when I announced that I was quitting and moving out of town. My relationship with my boss was special. He was my boss because I had refused the promotion, and he felt a bit awkward about it at first, feeling indebted to me. When he went through a divorce 2 years ago, I came into his office and told him it was the reason I had turned down the promotion. Since then, we had been more equal partners than boss and employee. Listen, Alex, I have a proposition for you, he said. I'll accept your resignation from your current position, but I won't ask HR to terminate your employment and cash out your 401k. Instead, I have an opening in our new optics division in Phoenix. It pays less than what you make now, but I hear that you can find a decent place at a very good price out there. We shook hands on that deal after he agreed to spread the rumor that I had quit my job. Next, I stopped by my lawyer's office and explained that I was leaving Emily, plain and simple. He was to serve her with divorce papers and give her power of attorney to sell the house, which would become her 50% share of our wealth. My attorney tried to talk me into counseling, as he was also a family friend, but he quickly understood that I would be out of town, out of state, and out of a marriage by midnight. By the end of the afternoon, I was on the road. I was very tired and stopped around 7:30 p.m. at a rather decrepit motel. Hey, what do you expect for $50 a night? All I needed was a place to crash. I dialed Ethan's phone number on a throwaway phone I had bought earlier. Hello. Hi, Ethan, it's Dad, I said. What's that phone number, Dad? Ethan asked. Well, save it. It's my new number, I said. Any news from your mom today? No, why? Well, I have to be direct with you, Ethan, I said. I caught your mom cheating yesterday. Oh damn, Dad. Not her, too. What are you going to do about it? It's already done, Ethan. I packed my stuff, cleared the bank accounts, leaving enough for her until she sells the house. I quit my job, and I'm on the road heading south. I'm done with her. I'll give her the freedom to screw around, but it won't be as my wife. She'll be served with divorce papers later this week. There was a long silence on the line. Does Olivia know? Ethan asked. No, not yet. Everything happened so fast, you're the first one to know. I'm not even sure if your mom knows yet that I left her. She wasn't around when I packed, I said. I'll phone you regularly. Keep me informed. Another silence. I love you, son. I'm exhausted and I need to go. Love you too, Dad. My phone call to Olivia was just as sad. It was crushing for my 2 kids to learn what their mother had done to us. They had seen the damage Aunt Rachel did to her family, and like me, they couldn't understand how their mother would do the same thing to us. I wonder how long she's been doing this, Olivia said, always straightforward. How long has it been that we weren't enough for her anymore? It doesn't matter, honey. I just wish she had been honest with me and divorced me before cheating. Now it doesn't matter for how long or why. All that matters to me is that I loved her, that I trusted her with my life, and that she betrayed that trust. Nothing else matters anymore, I said. Please don't talk like that, Daddy. Tell me you'll be fine. I'm all right now. Very sad, but I'll get over it if I can avoid all contact with your mother, I said. I'll let you know where I live. Can I come stay with you after my school year? Asked Olivia. I had tears in my eyes when I promised her that she would always be welcome to live with me. The division in Phoenix was small, with only about 30 employees. The district manager was more of a father figure than a ruthless boss. I liked the instant familiarity of the crew, and they made me feel welcome. Within a month, I had my eye on a nice condo. I never contacted Emily, but I had regular updates from my attorney and my kids. Moving on was anything but easy. There were some instances where it was really hard. First, my attorney informed me that Emily was ready to contest the divorce. She said she didn't want a divorce and was prepared to fight it to the end, even if it would bankrupt both of us. Fine, I told my lawyer. Forget the divorce. I don't care. It was only to give her a chance to move on with her life after the 20 years of happiness we shared together. Just tell her I don't want to have any more dealings with her. Tell her to have a nice life, and I say, go choke on your spit. Can you say that? Because I'm your friend, it will be a pleasure, but I will still bill you an extra $50, said my attorney with a chuckle. It was a bit harder dealing with the kids. One by one, I had to convince them that there was no turning back. The first snag was with Olivia. Dad, Mom went crazy when I told her I was going to live with you this summer, said Olivia. I told her that I'd come visit both her and Grandpa and Grandma, but she was so weird about it that I had to avoid my phone for days. Emily also went off the deep end when Ethan decided to split his summer between her and me. I never inquired about Emily, it was my way of moving on and getting on with my life. It was hard, though, because I still had some feelings for her, mostly feelings about our life before the betrayal. However, the kids kept giving me information about her. To my surprise, it seemed that Emily was as depressed as I had once been. It was simply unbelievable. After what happened with her sister, it was simple: you cheat, you hurt the people you're supposed to love, you destroy your marriage, and then you move on with your life. How could she be depressed? I went out of my way to make sure she could move on without having me around. Her refusal to divorce seemed like a way to avoid facing the fact that her behavior caused the destruction of our family. Stupid, isn't it? I had been in denial for a few hours, she had been in denial for the last 2 years. Knowing that the kids spoke regularly with me, she used them to convey her apologies for her behavior. From the information provided by my kids, I learned that it had been the first time she'd let herself be dragged into a sexual escapade by her sister. I didn't really believe it. She apologized to the kids and indirectly to me for her betrayal. She admitted that it was intentional and that she knew well what would happen if she went with Rachel, her lover, and a male friend of his. She told the kids about her shame when she thought back to that evening. She had cold feet for a while but decided to drink heavily to alleviate her shame and guilt. When she got my voicemail about my imminent return home, she had just finished having sex with her blind date. She was drunk when the highway patrol took her to the drunk tank. She believed that I would reconcile with her if she atoned long enough for her betrayal and if she could let me know she still loved me through the kids. She tried to convince them, and indirectly me, that she would do anything to show me her love. I knew that the kids hoped I would reconcile with her, but I couldn't find it in me to even contemplate speaking with Emily. The fact that I was living so far away from their mother was also hard for the kids because they had to make a choice, her or me. Emily was always after the kids to tell her where I was living. All she knew was that I was in a southern state. Almost 3 years after I left her, Emily finally discovered where I was. One day, as I was leaving work, I saw her stalking the office. I was certain my kids hadn't told her, so I didn't know how she'd managed to discover the city where I lived. I knew from my kids that she was convinced I would change my mind if she could meet me. I sure wanted to change her mind about that. She didn't see me because I left through a side door. I grabbed my phone and dialed a number. "Hi, Isabel," I said. "You remember what I was telling you about my ex-wife? Well, she's here, and she'll probably follow me back home. Be prepared. See you in a bit." I managed to walk within sight of Emily so she would follow me. When I pulled out of the parking lot, Emily was close on my tail. I drove around town a bit, stopped at the grocery store, and then headed back home. When I arrived, I pulled into the driveway of my condo. I didn't have to get my keys out, as Isabel, a very pretty Latina woman in her early 30s, opened the door to let me in. 2 minutes later, the doorbell rang. Isabel, with a toddler of 12 months on her hip, went to open the door. From my vantage point in the kitchen, I could see Emily's expression of surprise. "Hola, how can I help you?" Isabel asked, her heavy Spanish accent unmistakable. "Hi, I'd like to speak to Alex," said Emily. "Somebody at the door for you," Isabel yelled as I came out from the kitchen, acting as if I was surprised. Isabel handed me the toddler. "You take care of your daughter now while I finish supper," Isabel said. I took the young one and turned toward Emily. Well. I can't say I didn't expect this, but it's still a surprise," I said, sarcasm dripping from my voice. "You know, I should thank you for what you did." Emily stood there, speechless. "If you hadn't betrayed me, I never would have moved to this part of the country, and I'd still be stuck in the cold, surrounded by concrete back in the Northeast. Now, I live here, I have a beautiful mistress, and I'm starting to build new family memories with Isabel and little Amelia, my daughter." Emily was openly crying at this point. After all this time, my sorrow and anger had dissipated. I was tempted, as an empathetic human being, to comfort her, but that feeling passed. I was on a mission. "So, Emily, what do you want after almost 3 years?" she asked. She whispered, barely above a whisper, "I needed to apologize. I needed to tell you how sorry I am for what I did and for how much I hurt you. I needed to tell you that it was never about you, only about how stupid I became. I needed to tell you that I loved you then, despite everything I did, that I love you now, and that I'll love you forever. You were the best husband and father a woman could ask for. I was just a cheap excuse for a wife. I'm so sorry for what I destroyed." Her apologies were getting to me. It was time to end this as soon as possible. "Well, no harm done," I said, faking good spirits. "Water under the bridge, as they say. It's been so long since I thought about all that. I can say for sure that I forgive you. I wish you a happy life," I said, looking at little Amelia in my arms. She was all smiles. "A life as full of love as mine is." With tears streaking down her face, Emily mumbled something, came over, gave me a small hug, and fled the house. I closed the door behind her. Isabel came out of the kitchen and took Amelia from my arms. I leaned my back against the door and let my own tears flow. Isabel gave me a heartfelt hug, kissed my forehead, and picked up her phone. "I'd better let Carlos know that I'll be back home soon with his daughter," Isabel said with a smile. "Thank you, Isabel," I said. "And tell Carlos that I'm expecting you 3 for a barbecue on Saturday." "Will do, boss. See you tomorrow at the office." The following week, my attorney received the divorce papers signed by Emily. I was finally moving on, but at my own pace. I had a few female friends, was intimate with only one, but nothing serious. I think I was finally getting over what had happened to me. I was definitely less skittish when a woman moved into my vicinity. I knew that I should give Isabel carte blanche to set me up with a nice young woman, and now I believed I might just do that. However, after that visit, I was second-guessing myself. I wasn't second-guessing leaving Emily. I always thought I had nothing to talk about with her, that she knew exactly what I thought about cheating spouses and how I dealt with them, but having heard her out, maybe I should have confronted her at the time. Even though I've always hated confrontation, I wonder if we could have worked things out. I know one thing for sure, it was better for me to disappear as I did. I loved her so much that if I had confronted her back then, I probably would have believed her remorse, heeded her apologies, and lived a miserable life of distrust before eventually going through the divorce anyway. But now, 3 years removed from her betrayal and our life together, Emily's apologies helped me feel like I can finally move on. It was the closure I needed. I can let go of my pain and start to believe in love again. One day, I might even let her know that I don't really have a second daughter. I just might, but I doubt it. I don't owe her anything anymore. Thanks for watching. Should Nathan have confronted Emily or was leaving the right call? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories. See you next time.